Welcome everybody. I've got some huge buffs for Ninetales, but before I get into them, I want to have a quick disclaimer. Two things. Number one, this is a ROM hack, so if you are a new viewer here and you were expecting some type of competitive analysis, sorry to disappoint you. This is detailing the buffs and changes in a ROM hack. It's not your average run-of-the-mill ROM hack. It's extremely in-depth. I have a very detailed Google Sheet linked in the description, and you should definitely give that a look, especially for this move sheet. As you can see on screen, I'm going to click it right now. If you search, there's a bunch of tabs on the bottom here, and if you search right here, search all moves here, and you check it out, it has literally every single move, buff, and change in the hack laid out into dozens of different categories for your viewing convenience. That's really important. There are 600 plus of them and 130 plus custom new moves. So do give those a look. So yeah, with that being said, Ninetales is a Fire Fairy type, not Fire Ghost, not Fire Psychic. Reason being, Fire Fairy is a much more unique dual type. It's a much cooler dual type, and although Ninetales is already Fairy typing, already has the Fairy typing, excuse me. So I think that Fire Fairy fits Ninetales pretty well. Honestly, all three of those types I listed fit Ninetales pretty damn well. I would say Ghost being the least fitting, but still fits. You know, it has like the ghostly vibes and Pokedex entries and stuff. But Fire Fairy is the most unique and the coolest offensive combination. And something else important that is worth noting is that I do try to balance all Pokemon, not only to have two useful abilities, which I'll get into in a second, I also balance all Pokemon to not overlap with one another. So there are two other Fire Psychic types in Mega/Zen mode Darmanitan and Delphox, and then there are three Fire Ghost types in Blacephalon, Marowak, and Chandelure. So Alola Marowak and Chandelure. So that leaves only two Fire Fairy types in Ninetales and Victini. So I think this is the best way to do it. It makes it, you know, more even between those three type combinations. With that being said, though, Swim, Grace, and Drought are two incredible abilities, especially with the new stat boosts. Yeah, I was gonna say yeah, Mega. Yeah, I'm like kind of jumping around all over the place while I'm editing these guys' moves and fixing them and stuff. I'm getting pretty sidetracked, but I am gonna get this done relatively quickly. I've been scheduling uploads to try to breeze through these re-uploads, and I'm probably not even gonna go past Gen 2 re-uploading. I'll still be editing all of like Gens 1 to 4, but like in terms of re-uploading, probably just Gens 1 and maybe some of Gen 2. Because after Gen 3 is like when I started to become better at making them short. Speaking of, let me stop ranting. So Drought, Serene Grace, very good abilities, great special attack stat now. I don't know what the hell, like, I know it's like Gen 1, but this stat distribution has always bothered me. Like, look at it, like, what? It's just like Mystical Fox. Like, why is its attack 5 points lower than its special attack, which is only 81? Like, I know it has Drought and in Vanilla, 81 special attack, but Drought is actually pretty strong, but like, oh, screw that, man. It's like so mid, Ninetales. So yeah, much better dual typing, great dual stab, great utility moves, much better bulk on the special side, not much better, but slightly better. The main buff here is the special attack and the abilities and the typing though, and of course a bunch of really cool moves, which you should check out what those do in the description down below. Because there's a bunch of really cool things that Ninetales can do, and I don't have time to get into every single one. But what I will say is that Serene Grace has a lot of use. You might be looking at Drought and be like, well, why would I ever run Serene Grace? I have Drought right there. If you're not doing a Team Lock Nuzlocke, sure, yeah, you can just deposit your Ninetales. But if you're playing a Team Lock Nuzlocke, especially, having the option to not have to run Weather alone is worth an ability slot, let alone the fact that Serene Grace is actually pretty damn good on Ninetales. Not like as good as like the Revelation Dance guys who get it, but it's still pretty solid. Dazzling Gleam and Fire Pledge both have a 1 in 2 chance to boost special attack with Serene Grace active, and then moves like Pyro Plume and Searing Shot have 50 to 60% burn rates with Serene Grace, so those are really good, as well as Moonblast having a 60% special attack drop, Scorching Sands having a 60% burn rate, etc., etc. All types of really cool little additional effects with a lot of these moves that work well with Serene Grace. So definitely do keep those in mind. Keep those in mind when using Serene Grace. It's pretty useful ability. It's still like situational, because at the end of the day, like, Drought is Drought. But if you don't want Drought, for example, there's a lot of boss fights where Drought would actually hinder your strategies or your other Pokemon. For example, if you have a Water type especially, or some other weather strategy going on, you can still use a Ninetales on your team. You don't have to run Drought. It has good stats regardless of the Sun boost. But of course, in the Sun, it's an absolute beast with that dual stab, with that Sun boost to that 112 base special attack, with moves like Solar Beam, which is now overall 135 base power, and it actually always crits, so it's essentially 90 base power, but it always crits, so that works great in conjunction with Blast Burn and Floor Cannon, which drop your special attack stat by 2, especially Blast Burn. And then you also have Heat Wave, which will always crit, so you can use Blast Burn plus Heat Wave plus Solar Beam in the Sun. You also have Morning Sun, which will heal you by 2/3 HP under the sun, which makes you really good and tanky on that special side, especially. You also resist a lot of common priority like Sucker Punch and First Impression. You don't 4 times resist First Impression. Fairy no longer resists Bug, but you still 2 times resist it, and you have actually pretty decent physical bulk and HP. That was one of the main changes I made from the older versions of Ninetales. I gave them their HP and defense back just because, why not? And the only thing that I actually had to get lowered, I think, was attack a little bit more, and I just made them 535 base that total because I used to do that back in the day, like 6 months ago. Yeah, Vulpix has solar power, which is really good for early game. Very strong ability up to level 30. You can run him under the sun. Self-setting sun is very valuable in this hack, especially on team locked Nuzlocke, because you're not always going to be able to go to your PC and just swap it out for one of the many Pokemon that gets one of these weather setting abilities. So what you can do is you can use Sunny Day with Heat Rock on your ally, and then Parting Shot or Volt Switch or whatever into your Vulpix, which again, those moves are also widely distributed, and then you can abuse solar power really well. Soaring Grace is kind of on Vulpix. You do have Extra Sensory, which has a 60% flinch rate or 50% flinch rate with Soaring Grace. Let me just triple check. It is 60%, yeah, 60% flinch rate with Soaring Grace. So that's one of their best Soaring Grace moves as well, just for that flinch hacks. Yeah, it's just very simple and straightforward buffs for these guys. Alolan Ninetales is a lot less powerful because obviously Snow Warning doesn't boost, but it is much more defensively useful. Not that base Ninetales isn't, but I'll be covering that in a separate video, so do give that one a look if you're interested, or honestly just check out the Google sheet and look at the description. The whole Ninetales changes are not very, it's not hard to understand, but it does now, so yeah, I think I'm just going to try to leave the video out there. Other things I can quickly touch on. Burn Up is pretty cool. That will turn you into a pure fairy type that always burns, and that's 140 base power. So in the sun, that's an absolute nuke, and it's pretty early on at level 44. So that's a really cool move that you can definitely abuse with things like Parting Shot. Radiant Edge is like fairy type Size Shock, 95 base power. So that's pretty good. I would prefer using that over Moonblast personally, just because of the 100% accuracy. But of course, it depends on your personal preferences. If you're not doing a hardcore Nuzlocke, go ahead, go crazy and use the inaccurate moves. But in Nuzlocks, I would not recommend using inaccurate moves unless you need that power boost. Otherwise, you'd have to run a wide lens, which is buffed in attack as well. Good coverage: Aura Sphere, Solar Beam, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, Psychic, Scorching Sands. And then you have your Fire Fairy Dual Stab, and also stuff like Signal Beam and other nice little things. Utility moves like Mystical Fire, which will drop attack and special attack by 1. Will-O-Wisp, Disarming Voice, Dismal Cry, Charm. All types of really fun things you can take advantage of. Trick Room plus Drought is a pretty cool little combo. Trick Room is now neutral priority, so what you can do is you can click Trick Room with a Focus Sash or something, out prioritize the taunt, or you can use Quick Claw to out prioritize taunt if you want to do it on the lead and they happen to have taunt, which they typically will, not always, but typically. And then you can Parting Shot into your Sun/Trick Room Abuser. You can use like a slow Sun Abuser with Trick Room. Pretty cool little combo. It is situational, it's not reteachable, so you might only run that for a few levels, but it's still a cute little tool that you can use for a few boss fights, maybe versus Guzma or something. It's up to you. It's really simple. That's pretty much about it. I mean, Overheat is fire, special Flare Blitz. That's really spammable. Eternal Beam also is the same. That is special fairy type. Like it's a recoil move. So you can use a buffed Shell Bell in conjunction with Overheat and Eternal Beam and only take 5% recoil net recoil because Shell Bell heals you by 20% now. So yeah, very, very good little things you can do with Ninetales. It's got all types of other little things I'm not really covering because I think I can trust that you will be able to figure it out for yourself. For example, like Ignite and Pixie Dust being priority moves and all this other fun stuff. Nasty Plot is, Nasty Plot, Good Hope Reliable, Calm Mind, same thing. They do have less PP now, and setup in general is pretty heavily nerfed in this hack in a lot of different ways, but it's still a decent move option for certain boss fights if you do plan out your turns accordingly. Otherwise, though, that's about it. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Pretty straightforward. Be back for more coming up. Peace.